ask if you want to run right now. Sorry. Start. Hello, my name is Dean Contover. This is the Current Buzz. Today we have Pat Wojtas. She's on the Select Committee in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, but she's a candidate for House of Representatives.
Correct.
Right?
It's the Select Board.
Select Board, that's what I said.
You said Select Committee.
Oh, Select Committee, all right.
But that's okay.
Select Board, I'm sorry. So you're running for, you just got elected in April.
Just got reelected to the
Reelected
Select Board.
and to the board, and you're running for representative to the General Court.
Right. State
It's
representative.
official. They call it a General Court, don't they?
That's the official
That's
name.
the official
of it, yeah.
name, is it?
Correct.
Just in case you didn't know, it's called the General Court, but in most states it's the House of Representatives. So she's running in Chelmsford, and I'm going to read the precincts to you because it's very important that you know what precincts, right? Or do you want to say it?
Go right
Why
ahead.
don't you, Pat? Why don't you say what precincts they are?
Okay, so it's in Chelmsford, it's precincts 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. It's the entire town of Carlisle. In Concord, it's precincts 1, 2, and 5. And in Acton, it's precincts 1, 2, and 6, and I believe part of precinct 3.
Part of precinct. Okay. So what we're going to do is repeat the precincts in Chelmsford. So write this down, look and see if you're a member or in precincts 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. There's other people running for state rep. There's 3 state reps in Chelmsford. It used to be 4, but with the new census, it's down to 3. Now, we'd like to get it down to 2 and possibly 1 like it used to be. And if you want to go through the history of the seat, please, expound on the seat and what the history was, because we did have 1 representative. What was that? Right. 30 years ago? 20 years
20
ago?
years ago.
20 years
right.
ago. Okay.
Up until 2002, we had just one representative, and we shared the district with other communities. Sometimes it would be part of Carlisle or part of Tingsboro. But then in 2002, we were split into 4 districts. The town was split into 4 districts, and that continued in 2012. Every 10 years it changes because of the census. We have to, the state has to redraw the districts. We were hoping in 2012 that we would bring it down to 3, but that did not happen. We still had 4. Finally, this year, in 2022, we have reduced it to 3. And there's a big chunk in this district, in the district that I'm running, the 14th district. As Dean said, it includes 5 of the 11 precincts in Chelmsford. So
Right.
That's close to half of the town.
Is that right? Half of the district, you mean?
Well, no, it's not quite half of the district. It's probably about 40% of the district, but it's almost half of the town. It's about 17,000 residents out of the 36,000 residents in the town of Chelmsford.
Do you know how many registered voters are in the districts that you're running in Acton and in Carlisle?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers with me,
okay.
but
the majority are basically Chelmsford, right? Is that my understanding?
not the majority, but the biggest chunk is in Chelmsford.
Okay.
The biggest portion.
The biggest chunk. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So go out and vote at the primary. Put this on your calendar. The primary, September 6th. A day after Labor Day.
Day after Labor Day, right.
It's very important. If you can't vote, call up Town Hall and they'll send you something in the mail so you can vote by mail, right? I mean,
That's
you
correct.
can still vote by mail.
And I would encourage those who are unenrolled to please take a Democrat ballot, because I'm running as a Democrat.
That's right. There's
That's
3
important.
Democrats, if you don't mind. One's from Concord and one's from Acton, and you're from you represent Chelmsford. And so there are 3 people running. So it makes a difference in regards to the primary on the 6th of September.
Correct.
And then that one person who's elected goes into the general election in November. What date? I can't remember. I think it's
I believe it's the 8th.
The 8th? Okay.
November 8th.
Okay, the 8th. Yeah. So Let's get. I've had you on the show before on the history show. You were in the military at one time. You went to UMass, if I remember correctly, at Amherst, and you graduated from there. You were in the ROTC program there.
Yes.
United States Air Force.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you went active duty. You had to because did you have to or in those days? Or?
Right. The ROTC is a commitment to go on
Yeah.
active duty unless you have a very good reason not to. And I was fine going on active duty. I enjoyed my time on active duty.
And you were stationed in Oklahoma?
I was stationed first in Mississippi and then Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, and that's where you went. You got your master's from the University of Central Oklahoma.
Correct.
That's the reason why you were stationed out
That's
there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How'd you like Oklahoma? Okay state.
It was okay. I'll give it that.
Okay.
It was definitely a different culture than what you see in New England, as you would expect.
Yeah, different culture, different attitudes and everything.
Right.
Did you go to any football games like Oklahoma football or anything like that?
I did.
No kidding.
I did. I went to a
Pat,
couple. Yeah.
Yeah. Ohio, Oklahoma State or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Tinker Air Force Base, where I was stationed, is in Oklahoma City, which is closer to the University of Oklahoma than it is to Oklahoma State.
Okay. There is a big rivalry in Oklahoma between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma.
Correct.
And also between the University of Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a war out there, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
They take their football seriously.
Yeah, college football is very popular, and it's everybody wants to go to the games. Kind of like we do around here, probably even more passionate than we are around here with the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't have. Well, Texas has professional teams, but Oklahoma doesn't.
Correct.
And they're left out. But I mean, I'm sure somebody probably someday would probably start a team in Oklahoma. So I want to find out what your priorities are in town these days, and what your priorities if you get elected as a candidate to the 14 Middlesex. So let's talk about the town. What's your priorities in town?
Well, we have a lot of challenges right now. As you know, we have a sewer moratorium, so we're trying to work on ways to alleviate that.
What would you say? I'm sorry.
The sewer.
Oh, sewer. Okay.
Because any new construction now cannot connect to the town sewer system. It has to have either a private septic or a private.
You're kidding me. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, a new development that's proposed for Princeton Street, where the UMass Lowell West campus was. They'll have their own, wastewater treatment facility right there.
Yeah, I remember
on
that
site.
when that came up.
So, and that's true now with any new construction.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
What about the one on Route 40, right near the exit of Route 3? They're building up some.
They will also have to have.
Is that right? So in other words, we're at capacity. Is that what you're saying?
We're very close, and it'll take federal action to increase the capacity in Lowell. I mean, I think they physically do have the capacity, but they don't have a license for it, or it's very complicated, as with most things with the federal government.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one, and then with especially now with the way inflation is going, we have contracts that are expiring on all our local unions. So there'll be collective bargaining negotiations, and it's probably highly unlikely that we're going to be able to keep those salary increases to the 2% level that we have had for the past 10 or 12 years. And not only that, everything else that we do in the town, as with everybody else, private individuals and businesses, costs so much more now with inflation being the way that it is. So I think we have to really work on other ways to raise revenue in town, because we can't depend on 2.5% real estate increases like we have I'm
going to propose something to you right now that I've been reading about and everything. Excise tax. Instead of being an excise tax in regards to the year, because somebody will keep their car a long time just not to pay high excise tax, let's do it by the engine size. The bigger engine size, the more you pay, because the more you wear and tear the highways or the town roads. And if we do it by the engine size, because people people are going to hate me for this, but I mean trucks or SUVs. If they have an old SUV and I have a 4-cylinder car and they have a 6 or 8-cylinder car, is that really fair?
What do you do about hybrids and electric vehicles?
Well, then you study that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you know, I give an example. My cousin's a police chief in one of the northern shore communities. I'm not going to say which town, but the town gave him a Tesla. And he showed me the sheet, and I should have brought the sheet, the breakdown. No oil, no gas, no brakes.
Right.
So and then they got $10,000 off the car because it was electric car and so forth.
Right, you get the rebate.
Yeah, rebates. That's what he got. That's what the town got, the rebate.
Yeah.
And they're going to spread it out for 5 years or whatever it is. And they're driving Teslas, or he's driving a Tesla. I don't know if the department has Teslas now, but this was a year or two ago that he had Tesla. So I know they have hybrids in town, but
Right, they do, yeah.
I mean, if you're a police chief, you're not going 300 miles, I mean, with a car. I mean, I know you have to recharge it. And then there would be more recharge stations if the town had, you know, trucks or whatever. But
You know, the issue I have with excise tax is it decreases so quickly. You know, when you first buy your car, it's at pretty much the value of your vehicle.
Yeah.
But then it quickly reduces to the minimum almost in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I think that should be spread out a little bit more. So that's one thing, you know, I think as far as excise tax.
Yeah.
And kind of related to the engine size and things is the gas tax. I mean, you know, you probably pay more gas tax because you use more gas if you have a big truck or an SUV.
yeah, exactly.
But you don't pay any if you have a total electric vehicle. So there has to be a way, and you still use the roads.
That's right.
So the gas tax is supposed to help us maintain the roads.
Right.
As we go to more electric, which I totally encourage, you know, based on you know the fossil fuels and all the issues we have with fossil fuels. I think we need to come up with a way to make it more fair with people who drive the hybrid and the electric cars.
Yeah.
To even out how much they're paying as far as, you know.
Yeah, what was it? Governor Patrick was trying to have some sort of tax on the vehicle, not the vehicle, but
Miles.
miles.
Driven. Correct.
I'd rather have, if you have an 8-cylinder car, it's really unfair if I drive a 4-cylinder car, which I do, you eat up more gas and so
Right.
forth. But, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
you could take that to the House of
There you
Representatives
go.
when
Yeah.
you become
Looking
a
for
candidate.
ideas. Yeah.
You know, when you become a state rep. So I want to ask a couple of questions. You're the chair of the Military Community
Covenant Task Force.
Task Force. And can you explain what that is and what you do for the community? Because I don't know if a lot of veterans know that. And can you
Okay,
explain
sure.
that?
Yeah, this is an initiative that we launched around 2010, 2011. It's basically to help the families that stay behind when service members are deployed. And initially we did a lot of that because back then both the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War were, you know, going pretty heavily. So we had probably a dozen or so people at any given time, a dozen, you know, families where the main breadwinner was deployed. So we would help with things like, shoveling snow and mowing lawns.
Oh, that's nice.
Helping with other maintenance things around the house when, you know, if something would break down. We had a list of tradespeople that would help us, you know, plumbers, electricians.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Would they charge or minimum?
if they did, it was very minimal.
Okay.
Most of the time they would do it, you know, gratis.
I want that list.
Well, I don't think you qualify, Ray.
Oh, okay.
And then we would try to do social events too. When the deployed folks would come back, we would have the welcome home banners you may have seen
Yeah, I've
in the
seen them
center
around town, yeah.
and at Vinyl Square. I mean, obviously now the number of deployed folks has diminished quite dramatically.
Right.
But we still try to do at least the social events for veterans. We have, in August, we have an annual cookout at the Elks. This year it'll be on August 9th, where any military and their families, and really anybody, can come in order to show their appreciation for the military folks from Chelmsford, or from anywhere.
Right.
You know, we don't limit it just to Chelmsford. So that's,
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
it's one of our biggest events, and it's free to everybody.
And you have good food, I just want to let you know.
Oh, it is. Sure.
It's a really good barbecue, and I suggest that you go. I mean,
Yeah, right. So we have that, and then it's kind of scaled back again because of COVID, but we tried to reach out to the nursing homes and assisted living facilities for any veteran residents
Oh, that's
there,
nice.
and take them out for a luncheon, maybe on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, that's nice.
And as part of the process, General Arms Transportation usually provides the transportation for them, and the driver that we've often had will take the group for a little scenic tour around Chelmsford before they come to the restaurant.
Oh, that's nice.
So
yeah.
they always enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like I said, we haven't done that now for 2 years, but we're hoping to pick that up again.
Now, I had a guy on the show that used to fly World War II veterans down to Washington to go to the World War II monument. I mean, you don't do anything like that.
We do not do that. I know there is a group that does that. Yeah, and I've had friends that have taken advantage of those opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to ask you this question: If you are on the select board, did I get it right?
Yes,
Okay.
you got it right.
And you are elected in September and then elected in November in the general election, will you stay on as a member of the select board?
There's at least 2 steps that have to happen before
Okay.
I even really start thinking
Yeah,
seriously
yeah.
about
Good
that.
point.
But, my plan would be that if I do get elected, I wouldn't be sworn in until next January 2023. And then I would try to get a sense for if it's doable, logistically to do both. Obviously, my primary focus would be on the state position, and I would like to keep my position on the select board. But if it turned out that I was missing too many meetings or too many other events that are critical to go to
Right.
as a select board member, then I would resign.
What would you do, right? Who would be next in line if you stepped down?
It doesn't work like that. It would have to be either, depending on when the resignation might be. If say I resigned in February, then there would just be another election in April. So
Okay.
it would be
Good
done
point.
then.
Good point.
I mean, if I resigned, say, in May or June, there would probably be a special election. That's how a select board seat is filled, a vacant.
So no one that didn't get selected doesn't move up.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It
in
doesn't work
Chelmsford.
that.
It's a
Okay.
special election.
I just want a clarification how the charter is. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I mean, I wanted to clarify that because some people have asked me that.
A lot of people have asked me that.
Well, see,
Yeah.
how long have you been living in town now?
Well, I grew up in Chelmsford.
Okay.
And then obviously when I was in the military, and when I was at UMass Amherst
Yeah.
and in the military right after that, I was away from Chelmsford. There was about maybe I'd say close to a 10-year gap when I lived outside of Chelmsford.
Well, that's all right. I mean, you get different ideas and different philosophies.
Exactly.
And different cultures in this
Right.
country. There are different cultures in regards to California versus West Coast versus East Coast. I mean, people.
Well, yeah, even forms of government. I mean, you never hear of town meeting or anything like that.
No,
And-
they
and,
don't.
If you go outside of New England, basically.
Yeah. You're a town meeting rep?
I am
right?
also a town meeting rep.
Okay, explain what town meeting rep, and if people want to be a town meeting member,
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Chelmsford has what's called a representative form of town meeting, so you have to be elected in order to be able to vote at town meeting, and I think that's a great improvement over an open town meeting.
You don't like open town meeting?
No, open town meeting, anybody can come and anybody can vote, which
and anybody can pontificate.
anybody can pontificate. And then when you have issues that are controversial, one side may pack the town meeting with their supporters,
Well-
and then as soon as that issue is resolved, is voted on, then they all go home.
Right.
Where representative town meeting is expected that those that are elected, there's 15 per precinct now, that those representatives will stay there for the entire town meeting and vote what's best for the town.
And they usually do.
They usually do.
Yeah, right.
Right. I mean, there are some openings still for town meeting representatives, so if anybody's interested, check out if there are vacancies in your precinct, and if you're interested.
Yeah,
Definitely.
call the town clerk's office.
clerk,
yeah.
yep.
And they would help you, and they would walk you through. It's a very interesting thing, and you could put it on your resume. I mean, that you were at town meeting. People like that stuff, that you participate in your community, and
Right.
Yeah,
there's some businesses that incentivize people to participate that way in their local government.
Yeah. You have to be American citizen? I don't even know.
You have to be a voter.
A voter.
A voter
Okay.
in the precinct in which you want to serve.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
So you have to be 18, and you have to
Yeah.
be a registered voter.
Yeah. You have to be 18 years old. You have to be registered to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote, because you just can't walk in and say, I want to be a town meeting rep.
Right.
I mean, they're looking for people, younger people too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely, I mean, we want the demographics to reflect the town.
Right.
Right now, I think it does skew more elderly.
Yeah.
But, we are getting more and more younger.
Town meeting is usually after the April election in town. Usually it could be 1 or 2 nights that you're giving up, and sometimes it goes to 11 o'clock at night.
Correct.
And sometimes, usually the first
but
night.
it's only 2 or 3 nights a
year, and then in the fall there's another town meeting
Correct.
to catch up on some town business.
Right. It's the fall town meeting. If there's any budget adjustments, we have to make those, and then there's sometimes that fall town meeting is where zoning changes are kind of focused. Although we do sometimes have those in spring also, but it's usually not as long in the fall, the town meeting.
If you were elected as a member of the House, what would you try to do initially in regards to legislation for the town, or for Acton, or for Carlisle, or for Concord?
Obviously, I would represent all the community.
Right.
I mean, even though Chelmsford would be the largest of the communities involved in that district, I would try to be fair as far as representing all 4 communities. And I think I can do that, because I'm also, since I've been on the select board, I've also been a member of the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, which you may be aware, it's a regional planning agency for the city of Lowell and 8 surrounding towns. And I feel like that's one of the most cost-effective agencies that we get to use, because they do take the best practices from every community and from really across the state and help implement those in all the communities. So, I mean, that's what I would stress is regionalization.
Well, it's funny you say that, because Chelmsford is not in the Greater Lowell senatorial district.
Correct.
Our senatorial district goes to Wayland, Concord, I think Lexington.
Lexington is where he's from, yes.
Yeah, and Chelmsford's not in the Greater Lowell district.
Yeah.
Ed Kennedy is a senator from Lowell,
Right.
and we're not in this district. I mean, we border Lowell.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Senate district seem to be so gerrymandered, to use that phrase.
Yeah.
It's a derogatory phrase, quite frankly, when it comes to how the districts are drawn. But I agree. I mean, well, if you look at the different representatives that represent Chelmsford, every different district almost has a different senator, you could say, representing it too. For example, Westford, Jim Arcero, who represents Westford,
Right.
Westford and part of Chelmsford.
Yeah, part of Chelmsford. I'm sorry.
Part of Chelmsford, but Westford is represented by a different senator.
Now it's just changed.
Right. Yeah.
Because Ed Kennedy, it was in Ed Kennedy's district.
Right, and on the other side, Lowell is, like you said, is represented by Ed Kennedy. So there's really 3 different senators that are just right around in Chelmsford.
Yeah.
So it is kind of strange the way those districts have been.
Well, maybe if you get elected, you can resolve that problem.
Well, that's going to be a tough one, and that wouldn't be for, like you said, for another 10 years.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if you're in as state rep, you're kind of,
They do kind of favor incumbents.
yeah.